The need to belong is a fundamental human motive. People who have a network of close ties in the form of lovers, friends, family members, and co-workers have a higher self-esteem. Additionally, the need for affiliation is defined as a desire to establish social contact with others because we work together, play together, live together, and often make a lifetime commitments to grow all together. Um, when we lack social relationships and friends and coworkers, and as mentioned earlier, we go into loneliness, and loneliness is defined as the feeling of deprivation about existing social relations. So, attraction is highly related with the proximity effect and the mere exposure effect. Attraction comes in many ways. It is when we like, love, lust, and form new relationships. And then, as we talk about attraction, then the proximity effect is very related to it because then we find, or the studies revealed, that is the best single predictor of whether two people will get together. Okay, now in regards to the mere exposure effect, it is a phenomenon where the more people are exposed to a stimulus, the more positively they evaluate that stimulus. In small words, proximity does not necessarily spark attraction, but the increase in frequency of contact is a good first step. Beauty, mate selection, and jealousy. Beauty can be categorized in two different ways. It can be objective and it can be subjective. And a study showed that the objective quality of beauty. They show faces to babies and they judge these faces just as adults judge these faces. So, in other words, they hadn't learned the cultural differences or anything related to their culture in order to judge the faces the same way. The subjective part is that it can be based on and influenced by culture, time, and our perception. Mate selection. Mate selection is different for men and women. For women, their women are highly selective because they're biologically limited to the amount of children they can raise and that they can bear in a lifetime. In sharp contrast with men who can actually father an unlimited amount of babies or children, and however, their ability to attract fertile partners is something that is it becomes a little difficult to, and the babies that are born, they have the uncertainty that if they're actually their own. This previous topic brings us to the next one, which is jealousy. Jealousy is common and normal for human beings. It can happen to men and women, and it is a negative emotional state that arises from a perceived threat to a relationship. Social exchange theory. It is an economic model of human behavior according to which people are motivated by a desire to maximize profit and minimize loss in their social relationships, just like in business. Basically, relationships that provide more rewards and fewer costs will be more satisfying and will last longer. Between intimates, the reward includes love, companionship, consolation in times of distress, and sexual gratification if the relationship is disclosed. On the other hand, the cost includes the work that takes to preserve or maintain a relationship, compromise, and the sacrifices that are involved in a relationship. Briefly, equity theory falls into a subcategory of theories often called exchange theories. These theories tend to view interactions between people as exchanges of goods and resources. Attractiveness, intelligence, love, understanding, encouragement, earning money, and taking care of domestic responsibility are just a few of the many goods and resources that people exchange. This theory also bases relationships as equitable and as a matter of social justice. In small words, all over the world, people are very interested and they're happier when the amount of investment and the benefits that they get out of a relationship are the same for both partners. There are two types of exchange relationship and communal relationships. Exchange relationship is in which participants expect and desire and a strict reciprocity in their interactions. In other words, tit for tat repayment of benefits. In communal relationship is where participants expect and desire a mutual responsiveness to each other's needs. This is indicative that persons respond to each other's needs and well-being over time and in different ways, with regard whether they have been given or received a benefit. And sexual orientation is based on the preference for the same sex, will be defined as homosexual, of the opposite sex, heterosexual, and both sexes it will be bisexual. The following topics are found on the chapter Helping Others, and these are evolutionary factors in helping, the selfish gene, and kin selection. The selfish gene comes from an evolutionary perspective, and it is not referred to the survival of the fittest, but the survival of the individual genes. Kin selection is the preferential helping of genetic relatives, which results in greater likelihood that genes held in common will survive. Reciprocal altruism involves an individual helping another despite some of the immediate risk or cost and becoming more likely to receive help from the other person in return. Empathy refers to the understanding or vicariously experiencing another individual's perspective and feeling sympathy and compassion for that individual. The difference between altruism and egoism is pretty simple. An egoistic person is motivated by the desire to improve one's own welfare, and the altruistic person is motivated by the desire to improve another's welfare. Briefly, the bystander effect refers to uh, that the presence of other people inhibits helping. Pluralistic ignorance is the state in which people in a group mistakenly think that their own individual thoughts, feelings, or behaviors are different from those of the others in the group. And the last topic for this slide is the diffusion of responsibility, which is the belief that others will or should take responsibility for providing assistance to a person in need. Audience inhibition, moods and helping, culture and helping. Audience inhibition refers to the reluctance to help for fear of making a bad impression on observers. Moods and helping. The concept is pretty simple. Um, Different studies have shown that people in control situations support the point that good moods increase helping. And on the other hand, bad moods not necessarily people who are in bad mood does not necessarily means that they're not going to help other people. They actually in situations they tend to help others. Even though people who are in bad mood tend to help others, it is not as consistent when people are in good mood in relation to helping others. Culture and helping. This concept is not an easy one to define. However, some studies reveal that, for example, in the United States, people that live in rural areas compared to cities or metropolis, are tend to be more helpful than others. In regards to perceived characteristics of the person in need, researcher has paid close attention to two factors. One of them is attractiveness, and the other one is if the person seems to be responsible for being in the position of needing assistance. In reference to attractiveness, the bias toward beauty also affects helping. Attractive people are more likely to be offered help and cooperation across a number of settings. And finally, gender and helping. In this case, men are more helpful than women, and women receive more help than men. Men also may be more likely to help in dramatic ways when they feel in competition with other men. Thanks for your attention. Have a wonderful weekend, and here are the two questions required for this presentation.